We're gonna go down on our agenda tonight, and we're gonna hear from Jen Connors from EWEB. I think Jen's here, I saw, yes. And anyone else from EWEB who's here? Are you ready, Jen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Great. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, John Q, and everyone for inviting EWEB to come tonight. I have to say, I don't come to Southeast Neighbors meetings. I am a Southeast neighbor, but I don't come to these meetings as often as I should, because every time I come, I'm just blown away, just impressed and thankful that all of you are so engaged in our community and paying attention and educating yourselves and making your voices heard. You put me to shame. I should be doing this more. So thank you. I am not a transportation expert. You all here know way more about the transportation issues in our neighborhood than I do. But I have some just kind of heads up information to share with you about a project that's happening in Southeast Eugene. So I've got some kind of information and data to share. And then if you have a lot, more detailed questions like this conversation, I'll put the project team's email in the chat so that you can get in touch with us, and our project manager, who is a water engineer, can get back to you and give you more details. And I'll also put the project website in the chat. But I'll do my best to at least kind of give you some high-level information about this project. So this is a water storage construction project that is going to be starting in the next few months off of 40th and Patterson. So in the stretch kind of between the Safeway on 40th and Hilliard, there's that small stretch of Patterson Street that runs south off of 40th. It's a dead-end street. And some of you may be familiar with the undeveloped property that's there at the end of Patterson. So it's a 10-acre property that is EWEB owned, and EWEB has owned it since the 1950s. It was purchased about 70 years ago for this very purpose, for constructing, a future water storage facility when it was needed by the community. And that time has come. So we've been doing active planning and neighbor outreach since early 2020. And we're now at the phase where we're getting ready to break ground at the site in early August of this year. The whole construction process is expected to last about 3 years. And that's from, the very early fencing to taking out trees, earthwork, construction of the tanks, and then re-landscaping and revegetating the site. It's going to be about a 3-year process. These tanks, by the way, are partially buried concrete round tanks. So I just want to be clear, they're not like the elevated water storage tanks that you may be familiar with from other areas in town. The earthwork phase in particular is going to create some heavy truck traffic beginning this fall and lasting for 6 to 12 months. The most significant traffic impact will be on that stretch of Patterson Street, which is, a residential street. There's about 9 homes on that dead end street. As far as the truck routes themselves, the contractor gets to determine that. We haven't selected a contractor yet for the earthwork. We're going through the public bidding process now. But the contractor will select, what route the trucks come into the site and where they leave. But if you know that particular area of the neighborhood, that coming north on Hilliard Street, like past Tugman Park, is kind of makes the most sense. So that's one reason why we appreciate the invitation to come here tonight, because that's a probably is going to need some quite a bit of notice and outreach to folks in the area, that there's going to be this traffic going past the park for this period. Let's see. You guys probably already know this, but for context, there's about 5,000 truck trips past Tugman Park already right now. And during this earthwork phase, that will probably increase by about 200 trucks a day. So, 100 going to the site and then taking the rock and earth and going back the other way. So it's not insignificant. Once the earthwork is complete, so during that, after the kind of 6 to 12 month earthwork phase, there will still be construction at the site for another couple of years, but the truck traffic will decrease significantly. It's really during that earthwork phase that neighbors in the area are going to notice the most traffic. It won't be constant, it'll be kind of intermittent during approved construction hours. Those are regulated by the city. So there will be some days where it's pretty heavy, and then some days where it's pretty light. So it won't be continuous. Like I said, I'll put the project site in, or I think maybe John Q already put the project website in the chat, but I'll also put our project team email in there so that you can ask some questions if you have, want to know more detail. And then while I'm still kind of jabbering here, I did have some other transportation related information to share on different subjects, but it's related to electric vehicle clean transportation and making electric vehicle transportation more affordable, more accessible in our community, which is something that EWEB is really committed to and working toward. So a couple of bits of news to share with you in that arena. One is EWEB is partnering with the Emerald Valley Electric Vehicle Association, EVEVA, and a couple of other local partners to put on an EV information workshop. So there's a free workshop. It's June 17th at 7 p.m. It's online, and it covers things like, what are the benefits of owning electric vehicles? How much do they cost? What are the tax benefits? Issues like battery range and charging and other key considerations for folks who might be in the market for an electric vehicle. The other piece of news, if any of you are already EV drivers, EWEB recently installed 2 new public charging stations, one at our headquarters building on the riverfront, and the other at our Roosevelt Operations Center off of Roosevelt and Beltline. Those are free level 2 public charging stations. You don't need to pay to charge there. So pass that along if you don't already drive an EV but have friends who do. Doesn't require a membership or a login. You can just simply plug in and charge. And then if you're not aware, sorry, EWEB also offers a $500 rebate for level 2 home charging stations that we're really trying to promote and get the word out there in the community. And then just a heads up to kind of keep your eyes out if you are EV interested, we're expanding our electric mobility efforts, including other EV charging infrastructure.
While we've got a second, Laura from EWEB has put the water storage project team's email in there. So if you're a neighbor with questions and concerns and ongoing issues with that, I would assume that that's the proper email waterstorage@uweb.org.
I apologize. I hit return too fast before I got the space between EWEB and water storage. So I put it in there twice.
Got it.
New electric mobility program offerings, including something coming soon around electric bikes. And so you can keep tabs on that at eweb.org/EV. I'm so sorry.
You're great.
That was it for me.
Yeah, I hope you're okay. The EWEB electric bike information is much appreciated. Any questions? I see Linda's hand up if you have time for a second question.
It's a quick comment for your information. Our Southeast Neighbors Transportation Committee, part of our suggested proposal plan for LTD was to make Amazon Station into a hub. And part of that would be to include electric recharging. So just so EWEB is may be interested or whatever, and helping promote that idea, because we're trying to keep our neighborhood buses and have it be a hub at Amazon Station. And part of that could be also for renting bikes, charging bikes, etc.
Good to know. Thank you, Linda.
Thanks for reminding us to bring that up. Yep. So, and that might be something that Rob and his team are interested in coordinating on as well. Any other questions for Jen? Chuck?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, on 40th, right, down near Ferry Street, there's sort of a back entrance to the EWEB site. It's a gated thing and it's a dirt path right now. Is there any intention to use that? And if not, why not? Because it only, it impacts probably fewer houses than what are on Patterson Street.
I can take that, Jen, if you want.
Sure.
We did look at using that as an option. The problem is that there's a portion of the oak woodland savanna that's on the site that has some really healthy, bigger old oak trees, and we can't route the dump trucks through those trees and save them. So we would have to cut down all of like the 200-year-old oaks in order to get the traffic to route through the site that way. So we looked at laying a road out in order to loop the traffic around, which actually would make the earthwork go faster. And you are correct. It would impact a different set of neighbors going along the edge. You make it better for a few over on one side and then you have an issue on the other. And I apologize, my camera's not working for some reason. I'm not trying to hide. But that is why we were not able to use it. We did look at that as an option.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else that I'm missing? Speak up.
I just wanted to say, I think this is a super cool historical moment. There's young kids now going to the school across the street, and there's no tanks there, and they'll grow up and have, grandchildren, and they'll be these old, take it for granted that it was always there. And this is a really cool, big scale public works project. Once in a lifetime. They bought this land, 70 years ago, kind of planning this, and it's this really landscape scale project where they've got these high points all around the city that are gravity feeding a water system. Super cool. So I hope that the schools can get involved with this in some way and look into it and learn more about our water system.
I am actually have been working with talking to a couple of teachers at the Spencer's Butte Middle School about finding opportunities in order to bring the students in. We're doing kind of some small restoration work and seeing if we can bring them in to do some, work on native plants and things like that. And then also looking at bringing in different school groups and different ages for tours of the construction site and how things get built. So I am working with different. We're trying to do as many cool things. Jen and I are trying to do as many cool things as we possibly can. Because like you said, these are once in a lifetime projects. These tanks will be around for 100 years. And so, the more that we can do to honor that, the better everybody is in the community.
Lucy?
Yeah, I had a question about that. In some of the discussions, I've noted that the issue of, public safety and health is expected to be addressed through the construction company under OSHA. But my understanding as a paralegal is that OSHA only applies to the worker safety and not public safety per se. So my question is there an intent by EWEB or another contractor they might have to come up with a public health and safety document, program, education, that type of thing during the construction phase?
Jen, do you want me to respond? Do you want to respond? It's hard without my camera.
I'm sorry, if you could please, yes. Thank you.
Yeah, we will, the biggest thing that we do to keep the public safe, I mean, we'll have to abide by traffic control rules and regulations in order to keep neighbors safe on Patterson Street. You know, the site, we're working on keeping the majority of the site open during construction. So making sure that we have good fencing and, you know, demarcations of where people can be and where they can't. I mean, you know, keeping people off the site is the best way to keep them safe. And so you are correct. The OSHA regulates the people that are on the site. And so the best way that we're going to do, we will be fencing the site and it will be maintained throughout all of construction. And then, you know, we'll have traffic control plans to help the dump trucks going back and forth on Patterson Street. And, you know, there's a pipeline project that's included in that. So all of that gets kind of worked through a different process. But it is something that is, you know, at the top of our mind. And all of the construction projects that I personally have been an engineer on, you end up with a lot of people who start coming out from the community because it's not every day you get to watch large infrastructure be built, especially, you know, when it's in your backyard. And so we do try to set up areas where people can safely see what's going on. And so we do take safety very seriously at EWEB. It's one of our core values. And so you'll see that as it works through the process.
Thank you.
Yep.
Laura, Southeast neighbors would like to see the timber from the downed trees reserved and put to use in the neighborhood. So we can talk about that later, but we would love to put those to good use.
Jen's laughing because I actually have been spending the last couple of weeks finding good uses for the downed wood. So we are donating a lot of the large logs to a wetland restoration project that the city's doing out in West Eugene because they need logs for habitat. So that's where some of the lumber will be going. And then we're looking at possibilities of taking some of the timber into Springfield because they're doing a historic restoration project with the Booth Kelly mill site and they need fir timbers. So they're talking about doing some sort of using the timber and then, you know, trying to create some sort of signage and educational system of like, here's where this timber came from and here's how it's put back to use. So we're all keeping it in the community. And then we're looking at benches and things to put on the site in order to honor those trees and some of our other sites around town.
Yeah, we would love to construct like a covered pavilion area with the timber. And we would love to see, you know, since it's coming from the neighborhood and those trees are so beloved by so many, and that was a lot of the fight, to keep, you know, a good amount of it in our neighborhood would be awesome.
We are open to all ideas. We're trying hard to find, we don't have any desire. Jen and I both cutting down the trees is not something that we're looking forward to. This is it, you know, we tried for like a year to save, we can't do it and save all the trees. So we are open to ideas and we would love to find some partnership in order to make that happen. So if you want to contact the project team and then we can start that dialogue, we're more than happy to entertain that discussion because we agree it's important. So
yeah, before it's all given away to other sources, please.
Yeah. I mean, there is plenty to do. There is plenty of wood to do stuff. And so we have the power to prioritize what happens where. So
last
we'll try to where it can to fit in with our budget. But please contact us so we can have a further dialogue outside of this meeting.
Definitely. Linda, last question.
I have some concerns about the trucks and the traffic. Starting with Nightingale is right on the corner and Good Samaritan and then Tugman Park. So I would hope that EWEB would be working with the city and the construction companies to make sure that we have a safe environment. Because I know when I travel around the city, other road construction sites, some of them aren't very safe. They don't alert traffic ahead of time, etc. So I do have some concerns on Hilliard, not just Patterson up there, but Hilliard, I think, is going to be impacted. You know, people in the park, etc.
And as we won't actually know, as Jen pointed out, we won't be able to know what the haul routes are until we have a contractor and we know what their pattern is. And so once we have that, we'll start communicating with neighbors and we'll start working with the city to figure out how to safely get truck traffic in or out. So it's hard. We just don't have all the answers, but we know that these are all issues. And so we will be looking into them as we get further into the process.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you for
here.
inviting us.
Thank you.
Anytime. Come back every month to give us updates.